Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management. Daniel Stallings, financial advisor. Securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC, a broker/dealer and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity.
This week on Pop of Culture, the story behind the song. We have original music from local artist Katie Jo Robinson, recorded live for Pop of Culture.
And a story with songs. Author Lori Rader-Day set her latest novel in the country music scene of Chicago.
2 years before the Grand Ole Opry existed, we had the barn dance.
Plus, this week's beautiful thing.
First I wept, then I applauded and laughed.
That's all coming up.
Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management, the Innovation Connector, and from you. With state and federal money eliminated, you are the difference in keeping local programming on the air at IPR. Become a member today at indianapublicradio.org.
From IPR, this is Pop of Culture. I'm Michelle Kinsey.
And I'm Jen Blackmer. One of the great things about this hosting gig for this amazing show that we do here at Indiana Public Radio is that we get to meet artists and writers from East Central Indiana who have East Central Indiana connections and are also from all over. And then we get to follow their work. And you might remember, longtime Pop of Culture listeners, when we had a conversation with Lori Rader-Day, writer Lori Rader-Day. And Lori has a new book called Wreck Your Heart. And we invited Lori back to the show to chat about this book and give us some information about this amazing set of characters that Lori's created. Hi, Lori. Welcome back to Pop of Culture.
Thanks so much for having me, Jennifer.
Well, I was lucky enough to get a copy of the book, and as we were saying before we went on the air, I read it over my holiday break, and it was kind of perfect for that because this book is about family and friendship and music and art, and it's joyful, but it's also a murder mystery because you write crime fiction, yeah?
Yeah, it's a real bummer sometimes.
I know, yeah. So let's start out with what inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, so in 2019, 2020, I was the national president of a group called Sisters in Crime, which is a crime fiction association for writers and librarians and readers. And, you know, if you remember, 2020 was not a good time to be in charge of anything.
Really,
my job was to get the name out, to get, you know, possible new members to notice us. And so I talked my board into doing a big writing challenge, a month-long writing challenge where you write 50,000 words as quickly as possible. The problem was, well, it's twofold. I had never done this kind of writing challenge before. And then I was in between projects. You know, so I didn't really have a book going and I didn't really have my next book figured out. Mm-hmm. So the night before the challenge started, I wrote down a list of things that were giving me joy. And this was fall of 2020. So there wasn't a lot of joy to be had, if you recall.
Oh, I recall. Yeah.
But I had been listening to a certain kind of music that I suddenly discovered I was very into, country music, something that I had grown up with, but sort of fallen away from. Mm-hmm. And I found my way back to. I missed being out in my city. I missed Chicago, where I live now. I've been here for about 25 years. I missed going to, you know, a pub, a tavern with my friends and just having a beer. I had just gotten my new puppy. She was ruling my life with an iron paw, but I loved her so much. Yeah. And so dogs. We don't, you know, it's hard to put dogs into a mystery novel.
Oh, but you do it so well. It's like I knew these dogs, right?
They're characters, right?
They are. It's wonderful.
But if you put an animal into a mystery novel, then the readers have to worry about them. I wanted to title the book "The Dogs Are Going to Be Okay" by Lori Rader-Day.
Amazing.
I wrote this list of, you know, things that I thought I could spend some time with, and the next morning I started writing furiously this story just to get as many words on the page as possible, mm-hmm. without any expectation that it would be a book, without any expectation that anyone ever would read it, without any parameters at all. So, an up-and-coming country and Midwestern singer in Chicago is walking some dogs, and she lives over a tavern. And then I put it away and wrote what would be my next book, which was The Death of Us. It was out in 2023, but that was a dark, dark book. And then I was going through some dark, dark times. But at the end of it, I thought, I just want to write something that has some joy in it, something that is fun for me and then also fun for readers. So I dug out those words that I had come up with during my writing challenge, and it made me laugh.
Yeah.
So I started writing Wreck Your Heart.
Yeah. And I love hearing this origin story for this, because that feeling is infused throughout the piece. It really is. And I think among so many things, in particular, you don't think about Chicago as a country music hub, right? But there are places all throughout the city that you can go listen to country music. So that being an unusual and very specific location in and of itself was very compelling. And then throughout the piece, you create these wonderful relationships, these very interesting and intricate family relationships.
Yeah, well, I want to speak for Chicago's country music scene. There is a scene, a current scene, little patches all over the city and the suburbs where you can see country music almost any night of the week. But also historically, Chicago, I think we have a pretty good dibs, to use a Chicago term, dibs, on a country music hub, because 2 years before the Grand Ole Opry existed, we had the Barn Dance, which was a live music show that was broadcast out to all of America. So the origin of that Grand Ole Opry sort of piece, it started in Chicago. So we'll take a little slice.
Yes, Chicago totally should. And that's such an interesting piece of history. I didn't know that.
And then the relationships, they're complex. Dahlia Devine she's a complex character. She's had a rough and tumble kind of life, the kind of life you might write a country music song about. She has not had a home, really. She's had a very itinerant life in that she was sort of whisked out of her mother's care because she needed to be at age 6. And then she was in the foster system. She had one beacon of home, and that was her guardian, a term that she uses. I'm not sure that it was ever legally, established, and that was Alex. So when the book opens, Dahlia is back with Alex. And now she's not happy to be back with Alex, because that's, to her, means failure to launch, right? But she can rely on Alex, and that relationship became a really big piece of the novel.
Yeah. And as what's interesting is she's sort of an unwitting potential mystery solver, right? But then these things happen, and she gets involved in a lot of complications, and they just seem to, the knots just get tighter and tighter and tighter. But as the story progresses, right, she also learns that she has family. Right. And she's for the longest time, she's been by herself, but then getting involved in some of these very difficult moments and events, right, reveals to her some things that she didn't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a spoiler because it's on the back cover that her mother, who she hasn't seen in a very long time, returns and then immediately disappears again, but really disappears. And then the next morning, Dahlia discovers a young woman at the front door of the tavern banging on the door because she can't find her mother. And so she has a half sibling that she did not know she had.
Right. Yeah. And that relationship grows and strengthens throughout the adventures that follow.
All these relationships end up being tied more closely together than maybe it first seems.
Right. And the tavern itself is a character as well. I think there's you've done a really interesting thing with the setting, in that there's the tavern, and then there's living space that is connected to the tavern. But then there's this also, and again, not a spoiler, sort of liminal space between these two areas, right? And that's such an unusual thing. It's a feature of city buildings, certainly, but it plays some really crucial parts to your story.
Yeah, I described the two parts of the building as sort of I think it's the two chambers of a heart.
Yeah.
And they're connected, but they are connected in specific ways. And one half has been empty for a long time. The other half is the tavern, and then there are apartments above. When I lived in Muncie, I lived over a business in an apartment. Now the apartments were not connected except through a catwalk porch on the back, but that,
Sure, yeah.
you know, city buildings are always interesting, right? They've always been redone, and sometimes you find secrets in them.
Totally. And there's these layers of history that you sort of piece through to unearth some of those secrets. And that certainly happens in the book, which is really incredible. Music also plays, of course, I mean, she's a singer. Music also plays a very large part in the story. And she sings a lot of Patsy Cline, and she is struggling with writing her own songs, right? It's something that she had been encouraged to do by a potential manager and is broaching the subject with her bandmates. And that is such an interesting, a lovely exploration, really, of the artistic process and the stuff we do to get in our own way.
I think we, as artists, we all start by imitating the artists we love. You know, who among us has not tried to write, you know, a Hemingway story or a Tolkien story, you know, whatever it is, whoever it is. But the real journey is in finding your own voice and singing it, you know, as well as you can and developing it over time. So she's sort of been writing songs in secret, sort of, you know, tucking them away, and she's always
stashing them in her boot.
Yes. And she hears lines sometimes and she thinks, yeah, that's a good line. I could use that. But she's not doing the work. She's not sharing her work. She's not being open with it, even her bandmates, because it's something that she cares so much about. What if she's bad at it? What if it doesn't work out? You know, what if these are terrible songs that I'm attempting? And of course they are. You know, the first time you write anything, the first time you create anything, it's going to be that bad pancake, right?
Oh yeah, totally. It's always that first draft.
As I wrote this book, a lot of my own feelings about creativity sneaked in. I didn't know that I was writing a book about writing, but it turns out, you know, she's a songwriter. And so I could use some of my own experiences as a creator and as somebody in an industry that uses creative work to make a product. Yeah. I could sneak in some of my own thoughts and feelings about that.
Well, and you do it so well. You just really get to know these people very, very quickly, and you get to care about them very, very quickly. So as these events unfold and, Dahl gets caught up in them, you really do invest, I think, not only in what happens to her, but also in these people around her. And, you know, you don't know who is what and, you know, who's pulling the strings. And when you do find things out, then like any good piece of crime fiction, you're connecting the dots, right? It's like, oh, that's right. Yes, I saw that, you know, several chapters back. So it's also a fun read in that way.
Yeah, I think one of the goals of a mystery novel, traditional mystery novel anyway, is that when you come to the solution, which everyone is reading for, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
All the clues, all the pieces of information that you've been fed all along, all through the entire book, should sort of light up like a set of string lights all the way back to, oh yeah, and now I get, you know, I've been told this story and now I actually get all the pieces.
Yeah. Well, it's such a lovely read. And what are the specifics about when it comes out? Because I know I have an advance copy, but is it out yet? When does it come out?
It came out January 6th. It's available in hardcover, ebook, and audio. I've heard great things about the audiobook. We chose someone from Chicago to make sure that she could say Dahlia, you know, just the way she needed to occasionally.
Yeah, that is a definite accent that puts you right in the middle of it. I love that. That's great. Lori, thank you so much for joining us on Pop of Culture to discuss your writing and this book in particular. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's lovely reconnecting with you.
It's great talking to you.
reasons you might find yourself in a delivery room when you're not the one on the bed. That's what happened in this week's Beautiful Thing. We're here with author Jeannine Pitas. Hello, Jeannine.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking some time to share your beautiful thing with us. Jeannine's essay is called In the Delivery Room.
In the delivery room. It's not a place I ever thought I'd see. A committed unmother I am, my body never to be a factory of human beings. But today someone needs me, and I have come to clasp her hands and feet, to shout encouragement in her native tongue, which the nurse and obstetrician do not know. Veo su pelo, veo su oreja. A person the size I once was, a person not here minutes ago. The room is huge. Leaves know to grow each April, to fall in October. One body emerges from another. The doctor lets me cut the cord, then places him in her arms. I take a picture. It seems he didn't approve of being born, a friend says later, eyeing his frowning face. Maybe he hates the hospital air conditioning as much as I do. He doesn't know he's a U.S. citizen. His mother is undocumented. His father isn't here. He didn't ask to be born in this town where it hasn't rained in 5 weeks, where the May grass is brown. He didn't ask to be born among masked faces, among germs of our own making. But here he is, and he grips my finger, clinging to someone who feels like a tree. His name is Domingo. Later, I'm asked if this experience makes me want a child. I reply with my truth. It makes me want a better world for all children.
Thank you so much, Jeannine. That is so powerful, especially that last line. That last line just kind of knocked me over when I first read your essay, how it's so apparent that this one birth is also an indication of all of these babies that come into the world not knowing anything. Yeah. In the middle of the piece, you talk about, he didn't ask to be born in this town. He didn't ask for these things. Mm-hmm. And it's very potent when you think about the situation of this particular birth, right? And so tell us a little bit about what your inspiration was for this.
So I wrote this while living in Dubuque, Iowa, where I lived for 7 years. I live in Pittsburgh now. But while living in Dubuque, I got involved with the immigrant rights movement. And it really started because I am a non-native Spanish speaker. I've learned Spanish to fluency or near fluency. And there was a need for language interpretation. Mm-hmm. This was about 2017, 2018, because many young people had come to the town as unaccompanied minors. Many were seeking legal status, and there are not a lot of fully bilingual people around that can serve as interpreters. And this was a moment during Trump's first term that I really was thinking, what can I do? What can I do about the way my country is going, these realities that I see, this discrimination against immigrants that I don't like. And here was something really concrete right in front of me that I was able to do. Drive people to appointments, accompany them, interpret for them at legal and medical appointments. And it just so happened that during the pandemic, around 2021, a lot of the young people who had settled and gotten older were having children. Mm-hmm. And there was a need to accompany women to maternal health appointments. And I ended up having the opportunity to accompany some childbirths. So that was the second birth I accompanied. And it was a young woman whom I had known for many years. And I was really excited to be with her. But when the baby came out, I don't know what I was expecting to see. Like, was I expecting a dog? Was I expecting a cat? Was I expecting a goldfish? Like, I don't know what I was expecting to see, but I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a person. It's a person who wasn't here a few minutes ago. And my first reaction, I actually wept. First I wept, then I applauded and laughed. And in the births I've accompanied since, I haven't cried since, but I just laugh and clap, and it's so exciting. But this was the first child that I actually saw come into the world, and I just wept. It so
is
huge.
overwhelming.
It's so cosmic.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's overwhelming. And when you're on the other end of that and you are the person giving birth, there's nothing like, getting to the end of that process. And it is overwhelming for so many reasons. I mean, there's just so much, all of the emotions are just present there in that space.
It's a sacred moment to accompany a birth. And again, I do not have children. I never wanted to have children. So I never thought that I would be this close to birthing and babies. And I am a person of faith, but even if you're not, I would say like there's something about that moment where you just feel yourself as part of something bigger than just you and just our everyday reality. Even though births happen every day, obviously, but there's something very sacred about it. Same thing accompanying people at the end of life. I've had that opportunity as well. I've never been with someone at the moment of death, but I have in the immediate days before. And those moments really bring us into communion with all of humanity and just beyond all of our petty squabbles and the problems that we're facing. We really see just what is common to all, birth and death and life, and just this reality that we all share and that we're all in together.
Mm-hmm. And struggle and wanting the best for ourselves and our loved ones, certainly. And again, I think that the humanity that you managed to capture so beautifully in the piece, when you set that against the world that is, that's petty and it's thriving on conflict, and it's about, trying to craft a message or an idea or something. And yet in the middle of this, there are so many human beings with their own struggles, their joys, their desires, everything that they want out of life.
Yes.
Yeah. And your piece just does that so well, Jeannine. It's this beautiful sort of tug of war, I guess, in the best way between these 2 points of view.
Thank you. I mean, it's really what I want to get across, I think, is that as we talk about all these issues and deal with this conflict, it comes down to human beings and other living beings, not only humans. I mean, it comes down to the future of all life on Earth. But at the most relatable level, on all sides of the political divide that we are experiencing in the US right now, are the lives of human beings. And I just wish that everybody could remember that more often.
It makes me want a better world for all children, as you say at the end. Jeannine M. Pitas is a Pittsburgh-based writer, teacher, Spanish-English translator, and editor. She is also a volunteer for the refugee resettlement agency, Hello Neighbor. Jeannine, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
This story comes from IPR's collaboration with River Teeth's Beautiful Things, a weekly magazine of micro essays. More at riverteethjournal.com.
I'm Michelle Kinsey.
And I'm Jen Blackmer. You're listening to Pop of Culture.
And we have something new for your listening ears. Every month in Muncie, there is First Thursday, a gathering of arts and culture events in downtown.
One of those monthly events is the Songwriter Sessions. This is a singer-songwriter showcase billed as an intentional listening opportunity. It lets songwriters share the meaning behind their words, and it exposes listeners to local talent.
We're bringing you part of one of those sessions in our new segment, Story Behind the Song, recorded live exclusively for IPR. For our first story and song, here's multi-genre musician Katie Jo Robinson.
Much love, many blessings to all y'all. My name's Katie Jo Robinson. Thank you again, Songwriter Sessions and the Fierce and Seven Rock for having me out. This next one, I'm gonna take a minute, give y'all some context behind the music. For those y'all that don't know, my name is Katie Jo Robinson. I'm a musician from Daleville, Indiana. I've been doing this for about 15 years. And when I'm not doing this, I'm teaching other people how to do this. And that's my heart and soul is in the music and sharing that with other people, and that's part of who I am, and that's part of my purpose. Something special to me is my ability to create as an artist and put a message out in the world. And right now more than ever, I 100% feel like we as like human beings are more united. We got more in common than the world would lead you to believe right now. And this song really speaks to that, and it's like a message on my heart that I gotta get this out into the world. And contrary to what folks might think, I'm a pretty big person when it comes to life, faith, and family. And this song is called Love Your Neighbor, Be Your Friend. Could you think of me, my family, my community as lesson or the enemy when blood is red and water is blue and grass is green? Just wanna be your I just wanted to be your friend. Just wanna be your friend. I just wanted to be your friend. Just wanna be your friend. I just wanted to be your friend. Just wanna be your neighbor, your teacher, sister, brother. Just wanna be your. Just wanna be your friend.
As a treat for listening to our podcast, we've got another song from Katie Jo Robinson. Here they are with What For?
Sometimes that's the question you gotta ask, what for?
That was What For from Katie Jo Robinson.
Story behind the song comes from the Songwriter Sessions, created by The Fierce and produced by Josh Eisenhart. Full disclosure, I'm a member of The Fierce and the host of the sessions. You're listening to Pop of Culture from IPR.
It's the part of the show where we ask an artist, what are you working on? Our co-host Maya Doss spoke with a sculptor working in wood.
Today on the show, I have Chet Geiselman, an artist, woodworker, and educator at Ball State. Chet, share with us, what are you working on?
I'm always working on my artwork. I am the 3D studio manager here, so I am professional staff. And when everybody else gets to go home for break, I stay here and clean and repair tools. And so I'm in the wood shop right now, repairing some tools.
That's great. Artistically, I'm curious because I know you have a show coming up in March at the Storage Space in Indy. What inspired this body of work you've been making?
Well, I've been working on this body of work for 12 years now.
Wow.
These relief sculptures, or bas-relief sculptures, I call them. So they just keep, over the years, evolving. And I'm sort of where I'm at now in that evolution. Sometimes it's hard for me to go back and really talk about the early work because sometimes I look at them and I can't, I'm like, who made that? Who was that guy way back then? But they're, I call them bas-relief. They're low relief sculptures.
They kind of have a shadow box quality, right?
Yes, most of them have a box, shadow box around them. The size of that box depends on, that's the last thing I do. Some people think I build the box first and then I put these objects in. It's actually different. I start out with what I call a substrate. It's basically a piece of plywood with some wood around the back. And then I just start taking pieces of wood and laying them on top and sort of creating a design. And then finally I build the wooden box around the outside as sort of a frame, just like a painting would have a frame. So these contain the box. And there was a point where I started working outside of that frame. I was just talking to a lot of people. And they said, do you ever go outside of that frame? And I started doing that. So some of the more recent ones are doing that too.
What do you think it is about the frame that made you make so many of them with this kind of box shape?
I think like painters who frame their work, it hasn't been that long ago in art history that you just assumed all paintings had a frame. Mm-hmm. But then with the abstract expressionists, they felt that they didn't want their work to be contained and stop at the edge, so they started not putting frames around their artwork so that the viewer would just assume that the painting went on forever.
That's actually interesting you say that, because now that I'm thinking of when I've gone to museums, older paintings always have some elaborate frame and newer paintings don't usually. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And they're mostly made out of wood. Sometimes I throw some other elements, found objects, steel or glass. I've been using some glass eyes, or more recently some bison teeth, and deer teeth, things like that.
I want us to talk more about those because you were at the Evansville Museum, right, mm-hmm. for their 48th Mid-States Crafts exhibition. They were so animated. Can you tell us about those pieces, like why they're looking back at us, so to speak?
Well, in the last few months, I've been working with putting some eyes, glass eyes, in my sculptures, and I was having some difficulty with my actual left eye. I was seeing a little bit of, like if I looked at a vertical line, I could see a little bump out. And I thought I'd maybe found a glitch in the matrix or something. But turns out it's macular degeneration. And so I had a lot of tests done, and they're like, well, okay, you should be okay. Just take this vitamin. And so I started that. But, it's a real scary thing being a visual artist and thinking, oh, wow, I could potentially go blind. And
right, yeah.
That started creeping into my work, the eyeballs.
Yeah, it makes me think of Andy Warhol. Like after he faced death, right? He started making all these colorful skulls. You were like, well, I guess I'm going to start adding eyeballs.
Yeah.
No, that's so fun. What do you like about working with wood that you can't get out of other mediums? What makes you feel so comfortable with it?
Well, it's a medium that I'm around every day. I work in the wood shop and I just love wood. It comes in a variety of colors and shapes and grain patterns, and it was once alive, and it still very much is when you work with it. There's a lot you have to think about. Is this going to move? Because depending on the relative humidity, I've had pieces crack. Years later, I had a few years back, I had work in the faculty show, and I walked in, and there was a crack in it. I thought, what?
That's crazy.
But then I looked at it and I thought, oh, it was my fault. I didn't think about grain direction when I was making this, and it moved.
Wow, so it's always teaching you things.
It's always teaching me something. And wood is also very forgiving, and I can, sometimes I have to remake a piece, and it's easy. Easier than cutting something out of steel or making it again out of clay, firing it and all that. I feel it has a more directness than a lot of other materials do.
No, that's very interesting because I've only gotten to work with wood, a few short times when I took 3D classes, and I really enjoyed it. So whenever people always go back to it, I'm always like, I wonder why they really resonate with that. But I'm curious because when we look at your sculptures, sometimes it's very smooth. Sometimes there's multiple little itty bitty pieces kind of fit together like a puzzle. Other times there's spikes. What makes you choose what goes into one of your sculptures?
I wish I had an easy answer for that, and I really don't. It's always a matter of me, and I don't do any sketches or drawings ahead of time. No, I've tried that before, and it's because I really work with the materials that are on hand. I've just got a ton of, I've got a lot of pieces of wood, and so I kind of look at everything that I have and I say, oh, this would be interesting here. And I think, what if I put this next to that? Okay, that seems to be working, but it needs a little something extra. So yeah, what about these spiky things? Or I've been working a lot more with color.
Yeah, I love your use of color.
Thank you. So that can dictate too, how color bumps up against other color.
That's fair. That makes sense. Chet, this has been so interesting to hear about your artistic process. Where can our listeners go if they want to see more of your work?
My house. No, actually.
Get your pens and paper out. You got to write his address down.
Yeah. Let's see. In March, I'm going to be in a show at Storage Space Indy with another woodworker, Connor Knoll.
What about online? Do you have an online platform where people could go?
I don't. It's all I have is my Facebook and what's that other one?
Instagram
account. But I don't have a separate thing for my artwork. That's something I'm going to try and do soon is get somebody to help me do a website of my artwork.
Right on.
Well, and I do have a couple pieces, like you said, in that show at the Evansville Museum right now.
That's so awesome, Chet. Well, I really appreciate you for coming on the show and sharing with us what you've been working on.
Thank you for having me.
It may be cold outside, but it's hot in here. Time for the arts calendar. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Go.
All right. Corn-Fed Roller Derby is hosting the second annual Cornflict Scrimathon. Oh, that is so much fun to say.
I love it.
Cornflict Scrimathon, an all-day open gender scrimmage-a-thon on Saturday, January 24th at the Delaware County Fairgrounds, and you can watch all the action from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
That sounds like so much fun.
It does.
Speaking of fun, Paramount Theater in Anderson will host its second annual Paramount Lip Sync Battle on Saturday, January 24th. The Lip Syncery, featuring Madison County celebrities, will begin at 7 p.m.
Let's jump back in the time machine for a few concerts this weekend, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
I wanna put on my boogie shoes and shake
boogie with you.
and shake your booty too.
Well,
Let's
yes.
see. KC and the Sunshine Band will perform Friday, January 23rd at the Old National Center in Indianapolis. And Sawyer Brown will perform Saturday, January 24th at the Gas City Performing Arts Center. The 80s and 90s country pop and rock band will perform all their top country tunes.
Think you're funny?
I know you're funny.
Guardian Brewing Company in Muncie is having an open mic comedy night on Monday, January 26th. All funny people are invited to perform a 5-minute set. Sign-ups begin at 7:30 p.m. and the laughs begin at 8.
Hopefully the laughs begin at 8.
I wasn't going to say that. I'm
No.
going to assume it's going to be a chuckle fest.
All right, looking ahead, the Meltdown Ice Festival is January 30th and 31st in Richmond. Professional ice carvers and artists transform over 20,000 pounds of ice into amazing sculptures throughout Richmond's city center. Ice cream eating contest, a meltdown throwdown competition, and fireworks are also on the schedule. Richmond Meltdown has the chilly details.
That's so cool.
I know, and an ice cream eating contest.
know,
I would
right?
I would do so well.
And I think the weather's going to cooperate.
Yeah,
Because it has been very chilly.
it has.
If you have an event pop listeners should know about, tell us at indianapublicradio.org/contact, then click Pop of Culture.
Support for Pop of Culture comes from Stallings Wealth Management, the Innovation Connector, and from you. With state and federal money eliminated, you are the difference in keeping local programming on the air at IPR. Become a member today at indianapublicradio.org.
And that's our show. Our art director is Tracy Lauk.
This week was produced by Luke Jones, who looks like he hit a growth spurt in the last 24 hours. Congrats.
That's wonderful.
Good for
Way to
him.
go, Luke. We had production assistance from Andrew Montavon.
Our audio fellow is Maya Doss, and our show was hosted by me, Jen Blackmer.
And me, Michelle Kinsey. Pop of Culture is a production from IPR on the campus of Ball State University. Calendar.
And now we go to the arts calendar. Arts calendar.
You didn't know that's our new theme song.
It is time for the arts calendar. Arts calendar. Calendar. Sorry.
I mean, I was going to think of harmony.
I knew you were doing great.